So Article 50 has been triggered, not as it may sound a warning that you have taken too many clothes into John Lewis's changing rooms, but the formalisation of our exit from the EU. Since the beginning of last year, we have heard, particularly from the hardest of the Remain leading contingent, that leaving the EU will cause financial Armageddon. Unemployment would rocket, businesses would close, interest rates would soar, and house prices would plummet. By 18%, said former Chancellor George Osborne, immediately. Since that fateful day in June 2016, the opposite has happened though. And whilst I don't want eMoov itself to be seen as holding either a pro or an anti-Brexit position as such, we are humble estate agents after all, and so what do we know, but it does seem that prophecies of doom and gloom have so far not come to pass. And despite the best intentions of some media outlets and social media bigwigs, who have worked very hard indeed to find a crack or a chink in any aspect of the last few months' financial news, yet to date, employment is up, house prices are up, and interest rates have actually fallen. No banks have retreated to the continent, no blue chip HQs have evaporated in disgust, and ironically, manufacturing output is buoyant because our exports have become cheaper given the pound's subsequent weakness. The FTSE is at an all-time high too. There is a flip side to this, of course, as imports have risen in cost, and particularly fuels, and which therefore affects all of us and our utilities and related food and consumer goods, transport costs, and so on. So Article 50 has now been triggered. The June referendum vote was the breakup, the walkout, if you like, whereas Article 50 itself is the divorce papers being served. The Decree Nisi comes in 2 years' time, the culmination of the fighting over the CD collection and the dog. The important thing for me, as someone that runs a business dependent on property though, is what does this latest stage mean for the UK property market? Well, my considered view is that the rush for the exit now will not have an effect on house prices because the property market, regardless of whether we are integrated in harmonious EU union or not, is based upon fundamental principles that will still exist. Regardless, there is a shortage of new homes. Interest rates are low, and even at twice the rate, still cheap. We are a nation of aspirational homeowners, and we have it in our very DNA as Brits to buy a house as both a home and as a safe as houses investment. Granddads for generations have been talking to us about how wise it is to invest in property, and so it shall remain. So it should always be. The property market is sound, regardless, and house prices always go up in the long term. Just ask the history books, and the Halifax, the Nationwide, Rightmove, Home Track, the Office of National Statistics, and the HM Revenue. The only folk that don't believe in long-term house value stability are those lovely people at housepricecrash.com, and who have been foretelling said apocalypse since the 1990s. Well, even a broken clock is correct twice a day, I suppose. Also, now that the uncertainty of Article 50 is out of the way, and it is clear that there will be no second bite at an alternative referendum, that uncertainty will subside into buyers and sellers jumping off the fence of prevarication. If they do not, then would-be buyers in particular that are waiting for house prices to fall will end up further away from obtaining their dream home. Since the June vote, house prices are around 3% higher, which means that the average UK buyer is nearly £7,000 worse off than if they had bought before the referendum. Go figure, as they say. Next week I'll be reading tea leaves from the end of Southend Pier and prophesying how much a 3-bed semi in Doncaster will be worth in 2030.